How's it, YouTube? In this video we'll be fitting a door lock to the main door of the bus. The plan is to take the rubbers off. I've gone and got some aluminium that is 25 by 3mm aluminium, which I plan to mount onto the door before I mount the lock, because I've read that when the school bus doors close, there's a 50mm gap, which I'll show you, where the rubbers cover each other. That gap is supposedly there for a crush gap, that if the school bus door had to close and a kid had his hand in the door, it wouldn't break his fingers. Now, the way I want to do the door lock, that gap is too big, so I'm going to have to fill that gap. So the way I plan on filling that gap is I've gone and bought some 25 1-inch square tubing at 3.5mm thick. That 3.5mm thick wall will give me a nice screwing in point. So I plan to do it so that you can use basic tools to get the job done. But when I'm done, I'll finish it off by welding all up the seams and then spraying all the aluminium. The reason why I'm using aluminium is because the door's already aluminium. So for me to weld, I need aluminium on aluminium. Otherwise, I can't weld it. But yeah, let's go have a look and I'll show you what I'm going to do. So on my 2009 International School Bus, that's my door. It's quite a nice door. It's got quite a thick centerpiece, where some buses have quite a thin strip in the centerpiece. Anyway, to get the door disassembled, in the rubber you'll see there's a couple of screws. If you take those screws out, let's get them out, see how we go on. You'll see they're self-tapping screws. Just unscrew them. Right, all being well, once you've got that unscrewed, it might be a bit sticky, so if you put some WD-40 down the back of the rubber, it'll loosen the rubber up. And then all you need to do is slide the rubber out of the door. Same on the other side. Right, that's the rubbers out. If you can see, they sit in a slotted channel, so just slide them out. Once you've got them out, you see when you close the doors, there's quite a big gap in there. So that's where we plan to put the aluminium in, and then have a 50mm, 3mm thick aluminium flap that sits over that. So let's see how we get on. So I'm going to try and do this with one hand, but yeah, there's the door rubber out now. If you can see, there's a slot in here where that rubber used to sit. I plan to block that out with some aluminium strips when I screw up my aluminium, so that it's nice and square and it's got a good pressure point all the way through. But before I do that, everybody says aluminium doesn't rust. That's kind of true, but what it does do is oxidize. So I don't know if you can see, but there, the aluminium has started to oxidize. So we'll have to clean that up. And then once we're all done with this door, we'll have to repaint the door, because all down the bottom of the door, it's not looking the greatest, is it? So, moving on. I'll put one foot on there. You have a look at that gap now. that gap runs at about 55. So that means if I put two 25s in there of that square aluminium, that'll give me 50 mils with a 5 mil gap in the middle. Then with my 50 mil flat bar, I should be able to put it over the top of that, causing a flap, so when the door closes it works exactly the same as the rubber, and then I can put my weather strip on there. So let's get on with it and cut some steel. So for the first side of the door, we're going to need a piece of square aluminium at 2,150 millimeters. So let's mark that up and get it cut. Turn you around, take it to the saw, and then we'll get this cut. Right, so I'm lazy. I've got a bandsaw, so I'll be cutting it on a bandsaw. But if you don't have access to a bandsaw, you could always be cutting it with a hacksaw, angle grinder, many ways to cut it. But like I said, I'm lazy, so I'll be cutting it with a bandsaw. Let's hope this works. Right, let's hope we measured right and cut it right. Right, knowing the way I do things, I've most probably made this way more complicated than it needs to be, but that's the way I'm going to do it. So this is a test piece. Basically what I've done is I've drilled a small hole, 5 mil through there, and a bigger hole through the other side. That'll allow me to take my self-tapper, put the self-tapper through the hole, screw it in. Once it's screwed in and it's all fixed to the door, what I plan to do then is put a rubber grommet in it, if it will go in, so that at the end of the day it'll all look nice and neat. I suppose you could just put a self-tapper from there right the way through, but that's the way I'm going to do it. I think it'll look better, so we're going with that then. Right, now that I've way overthought this door as per normal, I'm going to drill all the holes, get everything in the position that it needs to be in, so that we can mount it to the door. So let's get on with it. Right, now that we've got the door getting somewhere, just for idiot proofing it, I've marked it. No screws in that area because that's where the door lock's going to fit. But if you can see there, I've made a small hole, bigger hole that'll take the grommet. So if the door closes now, just on the one side, that'll be the aluminium in there. So now I guess I need to screw it all together. So let's get on with that, see how we get it done. Right, now that we've got the one side all finished off, time to do the other side. Once we get the other side done, we can get the doors closed, see what gaps we've got, and then we can start adding the flap and hopefully then the lock. So let's see how we go with that then. Right, so that's both doors with both the aluminium pieces added on. So if we close those doors now, use my foot, you'll see that gap is a lot smaller. So now what we have to do is obviously make a weather strip on it. So on the inside of that door, I plan to put a 50mm wide piece of flat bar that'll serve as my inner weather strip. So let's get that measured up and get it on. So I've got the weather strip put onto the inside of the door. What I need to take into account is I'll have to cut the weather strip to allow the door lock to fit in. So I'll have to get that marked up. I know I said I was going to weld this, but I've been thinking about it for a bit, and the way these buses are built, they're all riveted together. So I'm thinking of pop riveting this on all the way along in nice neat straight lines. So let's see how we get on with it. But yeah, I'll get that marked up to cut out for the door lock so that can go in, and then hopefully mount the other weather strip, and then we should be in the right place to get it going. Right, to get all my spacing right, here's just a test piece. Just to show you what I've done is I've taken the square tubing and I've measured every side because they're not all uniform, and the thickest side was 3.55. So what I've done is, to know where to put my pop rivet, I've taken 3.55, I've then taken a 4.8mm pop rivet, half that, which is 2.4, added them together, and that gave me 5.95, which is to the inside of the wall. I've then added, or should I say I've rounded that off to 6mm, and that should allow me to drill through and be right up tight against the wall on the pop rivets. So my flap will then sit over, and I'll have a pop rivet sitting right on the very edge. Now, seeing as the bus is all pop riveted, I'm going to do dual pop rivets to stop the flex in it. So to get the other side's pop rivet, I took, this is 50mm minus the 25, that brings me to the middle of there. I've then, on that 25mm, I've added 3.55 for my wall to bring me to about there, and then I've added again 2.4mm, which will bring me in, and that measured out at, all added together, it was 30.95, which again I rounded off to 31. So if we mark all that up on here now, we should be able to drill it all, take it out to the bus, drill it and pop rivet it. So let's get on with it. So as you can see, I've got all the flat bar marked. I've center punched it. I'm now going to drill a pilot hole through each one before I drill the main big hole. I've also gone along and idiot proofed it, so I know what's the outer, what's the inner, top, bottom. So let's get to drilling some holes then. So now that I've got everything pre-drilled, if it focuses, what I plan to do now, put it over my head, break half of it. I've got the space where the door lock's going to go. Now before I cut this piece of aluminium and make it hard for myself to line up on the bus, what I'm going to do is put it on the door, pre-drill 2 of the holes so I know where it is, so that when it comes to cutting it and I have to put it back on, I've already got 2 holes for alignment. So let's get that done and see how we get on. Oh, by the way, on top of the door, there's just a ram. All I've done is unclip that ram so I can open and close one door individually. It makes my life just that little bit easier. That's all lined up, more or less. So we should be able to drill top and bottom holes and then go cut the door lock. So let's get that done. Right, so what we've done is we've measured the lock out. The lock measures 72.7 mils wide. I've divided that in half and that's given me 36.35. I found the middle of the door lock, or where the door lock's going to go, and I've measured 36.35, 36.35, and that'll give me my space where the lock goes in. Taking into account when I cut it, I'm also going to have the thickness of my saw blade running through there, which should give me enough play to get this all fitting in nice and comfortably. So let's go get it cut. Right, so that's the top of the aluminium cut, that flap for the weather strip. Get the other piece on. Just put it on. I'll be back. Right, back at it. So that goes in there. That'll get pop riveted on there. And if I measured right, everything should line up, we hope. Door lock sits nicely in the gap, so we're happy. Happy chappy. So now let's get it all drilled and all pop riveted. Job number 2, 3, 4, 5,000 in this job, but let's get it done. So that's the weather strip on the inside. We put on. Got a slight issue though. So what I didn't take into account for is that one there went straight in. Because I was trying to do everything so neat and perfect, I wanted to go in the same hole there. But if you look at that pop rivet, if I push that pop rivet, oh, there it goes, in, it's bottoming out on that bolt. So it can be rectified. I mean, got that one all the way in neat and flush. It's just a lot more work. So on this side, what I plan to do is, instead of lining directly up with the hole, I'm just going to move it up slightly. That'll solve our problem. So let's get the other side done. Right, that's all the holes drilled. Now onto the pop rivets. To pop rivet them all on. The pop rivets I'm going to be using, I've decided to go with waterproof pop rivets. So a normal pop rivet, right at the end, it would have a dimple that pulls in and that expands the pop rivet to hold it. These are sealed, so the divot pulls inside and expands the pop rivet. So if any water, once that's snapped off, enters, cannot go through into the bus. So for what it costs, a little bit extra, go with waterproof pop rivets. So as per normal, I forgot to hit play on the camera, but so what I've done so far is I've got that flap, as you can see it there, and I've got the Jimmy proof lock, the one side of it fitted. So what we're going to do now is fit the other side over there. So let me set you up inside and I'll talk you through what I'm going to do. Right, so me being me, I must probably way overthought this again, but that is supposedly going to fit like that. Now, to make this look nice, neat, what I plan to do is I bought some M5 stainless steel, M5 stainless steel little bolts, and I'm going to mark all the holes, drill them, and then put an M5 riv nut into the door. That way, when that's on there, it'll look nice and neat. So let's get it all marked up, drilled, riv nuts put in, and see where we are. Here we go. Right, so I've run out of time for today, but that's the lock fitted. That needs another one in there, that's in there. Next time, when I get another chance on the bus, I'll obviously be fitting the door lock to it, the outside door lock. But at the moment, overall, I don't think that's bad. I think that's gonna just do the trick, if you ask me. So, until next time, if you like what I'm doing, please subscribe and give us a like. Thanks a lot, YouTube. Cheers.